Spoilers ahead for Fargo, both the film and we may touch on the TV show. So if you haven't seen it, you've been warned. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Screenwriters Rewatch, a series where we venture into the IMDb top 250 film list, pull out some classics, have a look at them, see if we like them or not, see whether they deserve their place in film history, because we are, of course, the almighty script department. But before we get going, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. You can check out our back catalogue of work on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcast even, and all of these different places, and we've got everything up on YouTube. We've got a bunch of Screenwriters Rewatch now. I believe it's now launched as its own podcast and everything, so go check that out if you like it. But also, go find us over on our website, thescriptdepartment.net, where we do fun stuff. There's all kinds of great stuff over there, so go and have a look at it. And really, if you like us, if you really want to, you can buy what Caleb is sipping right now, which is a coffee. Yeah, look at that. That's some great placement, isn't it? We like coffee. It helps keep the lights on in the fabled script department vaults as well. So anything if you fancy that, there's a link in there. Someone's got to buy the coffee. But today, Caleb, I'm joined by you as we walk through the snow-covered, fenced-off fields of. I am. Yeah, I'm joined by you today for a stroll down the snow-covered, fenced-off fields of Minnesota as we check out the 1996 Coen Brothers helmed, best screenplay Oscar-winning, wood chipper wrongly using Fargo. Later, we'll decide whether or not this belongs in the red ice scraper marked vaults of the script department. But for now, welcome, you and your coffee, and tell me what are you bringing to this rewatch? Have you what's your thing with this?
So, spoilers, I love this movie.
Nice.
Very influential movie for me. It was one of those movies whenever you start to learn how to watch a movie and you start to watch the classic movies. Where I came to this movie, watched it, and just fell in love with it because it was such a weird, especially at the time. This was like back in 2010 or something, or probably before that. But at the time, it wasn't. Art house hadn't really taken off, or like indie cinema hadn't really taken off like it has now with like the A24 movies. Everyone talks about the A24 movies now, but so it wasn't as popular, I would say. Coming to this movie really was a breath of fresh air of like, what? This is what a movie can do. But it's so wrong. Why is this funny? Why are they having a great time? Why is she saying, "Oh, you betcha"? Why is she walking back and forth, like trying to figure out where to go, and it's just hanging on that shot, like. The Coen Brothers, they just follow. And I guess this is both of them, right?
It is, yeah. Both
they
Coen
just fall
Brothers.
right into like there's movies that I like, there's styles that I like, but then there's the style of movie that is similar to what I tend to like try to make or try to write. And Fargo kind of falls within that. The spiral of control that ends in disaster is one of my favorite story mechanisms to write. So
I totally get that. The spiral is such a great way of putting that as well, because it really is. It just gets away from him so fast. Like I watched this. I actually came to this the wrong way around. I watched the TV show before I'd seen this. This was a black spot for me until probably about a year and a half ago. And I watched it at the time I went through the TV series as it was. I can't remember if it was all out at that stage. And I explained to you before we started, I watched it through lockdown because I had this tremendous toothache. and for some reason just decided, oh, Fargo's the thing I'm going to watch while I can't sleep. And then got to the end of it and was devastated because I was at the end of it, and then discovered there was this film, or rather remembered there was this film. And so went to watch that. But it was so interesting to watch it that way around, because the TV show, and we'll talk about it later. We're here to talk about the film. I'm not going to, labor the TV show. We can chat about that a little bit later on. But there is so much of the DNA of this movie that goes throughout that. And so it's great to see where that came from, and the sort of the strong stylistic decisions that were made straight away, off the bat with this movie. And, this it's something we've mentioned a few times, I think, in like on this podcast, and we spoke about it on the Deer Hunter, on the last one of these, which is these great movies that create this totally realistic, really naturalistic sounding way of speaking that is completely and ludicrously stylized to the point that is just like, and yet it creates this realism in this thing, and Fargo does this the same way that Deer Hunter did, but in a totally different way at the same time, because obviously they are totally different properties. And I think you can see there is this just feeling of lethargy that goes through this film. Everybody just feels quite tired in the most wonderful, realistic way. Would you agree?
I would, yeah. That's why we need coffee.
So, that's why we need coffee. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic. Like, yeah, just that they have such a way of making the everyday mundane life like so absurd in their movies. And it's fun.
It really is. I think it's a movie about juxtaposition that strikes me here, because you have this absurdly boring every day, and what a great location to pick as well, with that the kind of Minnesotan accent that cuts through all of this, that just undercut stuff. And I think the juxtaposition and everything, but I think it's mirrored in the way the location that they pick as well, this big, desolate, white, empty space, and it's just vacant. It's vacant of anything, in the same way that most of these people's conversations are vacant of anything. And you look at them, and you've got the car salesman who is, and no offense to car salespeople out there, but he is working this job that clearly he is not doing so well. He's having a bad time financially. And he is vacant. He's vacant at home. He's vacant in, his wife is vacant. She's sat there doing her knitting on the thing, and this guy in the balaclava comes to the door, and she just stares at him like, until he literally breaks. I'd be up and running by that point, but she's just they're so just separated from any kind of like interesting experience in their worlds, that they have that. And I think it's so cool to cut the intense boredom and the intense emptiness of the location. So the intense boredom of the character and the intense emptiness of the location, with this intense violence and intense drama that that you then see. And I think to use the snow, it like visually exemplifies this theme, because the red of the blood stands out so strong against the snow, the white of the snow. And I think it just captures the theme in the way those shots are designed, in the way that is put together. I love it.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Yeah. Well, it's shot by Roger Deakins, so
yeah, we are. Exactly. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's like a great understanding of the imagery and just everything that they use throughout, because it's just so well rounded. It's just one of those movies that's pretty perfect in my opinion. Just the character journey, along with the external journey, like the crime journey, because like I would kind of put it in those two categories of the crime journey is it's not really, it's less of the thematic journey, and so like the character journey like is Marge. Is it Marge?
Yeah, Marge. Yeah. Marge or
her,
Norm.
going on a date. Yeah, her going on a date and like doing her everyday stuff, and throwing her into that the crime story. And I think it all culminates in the image of whenever she finally finds the guy and he's
Yeah,
shoving the leg down, and it's just like, what have I stumbled
yeah.
into? And also like using her, like the minor detail that they don't ever make it too much of a point, which is a great writing note, is they don't make it too much of a point of her being pregnant. She just is pregnant. um and she waddles around, and like it's there, it's present, but it's not, it never, i I don't think uses it as a crutch
It
to
doesn't
like
define
say
her,
she
does
is
it?
pregnant. Yeah. So I really enjoy that detail, and I think there's some interesting stuff on the commentary. If you ever have a chance, they have
Oh,
a good
cool.
commentary about the production, but also like they go into some notes like that of like talking about why
Hmm.
she's like why they chose to make her pregnant, and
That's
where
so
in
interesting.
pregnancy.
What do
So
they say about that? Because I have my theories. My theories would be that it's another string of normality, and you have that moment where she's looking at, and also again the juxtaposition, to undercut all this stuff. She's standing there looking at this dead trooper, and she bends over, and he's like, "Hey, you okay?" And she's like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna be sick," and everything. And you think it's because she's seen this dead guy, and it's like, nope, just morning sickness. It's just another normal thing. It's just another
yeah.
normal way of. Is that what they were going for in their commentary? Do you remember? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Like they just like the idea, and this is if someone goes and watches it and it's completely different, might it's been a while since I've watched it, but from my understanding, it really was the point of just like they thought that made for an interesting character note, to see her going through the mundane phases of life that everyone goes through, um and it's almost like a snapshot for this town of Fargo, which is really what the movie is about and why it's called Fargo, and the show even goes into that too, which is really interesting take on it. But like it's kind of just it's almost a snapshot of American life, in the North. So, but yeah, so I think that's you know choosing to put her in that phase and then have her go through this story being the hero, um, was something that was interested them a lot. So,
For sure,
but
and I get why as well. It's very. I think you really. I think Marge resonates. I think you really see her as a. I mean, I don't. I think all of them are pretty three-dimensional, through performance and writing and everything like that. But she, in particular, that wonderful scene with her when she and Norm, because she's introduced quite late. Interestingly, I found one of the things I noticed yesterday watching it was she comes in quite late. I thought she was right there within that first sort of 10 minutes, but I think she's I think it's right at the end of the first act. Sorry, that I think she actually is introduced, which is a really interesting choice. So we get to see Jerry, we get to see his kind of life, and he's framed as this kind of central protagonist, which I suppose to an extent he is, but and then we see the antagonist and the plan and this, that, and the other, and then she comes in later. Um, and I feel as though it kind of shifts a bit. We move from being on Jerry's side to a certain extent and kind of feeling, yeah, he's a loser, right? But he's kind of it's like, oh, man, I feel for you. You've had a bad luck of the draw here. Um, Whereas I think when she then comes into it, and that great scene with her and Norm, everyone needs a Norm in their life. Like he's
yeah,
she's on the phone. He's like, oh, you got to get up. She's like, yeah, go back to sleep though. Go back to sleep. He's like, I'm gonna make you some eggs. I'm gonna make you some eggs. And he like heaves himself out of bed. She's like, Norm. Like it's almost like cartoony, but it's so great, and everyone needs that in their life, a Norm to make you eggs when you've got to go.
yeah.
But
But then they do like develop that into more of a three-dimensional story, between their relationship, because she's kind of like toying with the idea of cheating on him, right? Within or in that scene of going and meeting her old
Mm.
um, high school friend. Uh,
Yeah.
kind of adding that in there makes it to where even like there's this perfect idea of what life should be, and kind of at the time of what American life, the perfect
Mm.
American life ideal. Um, and so like it's kind of expanding upon that and like
Yeah.
um, giving a more three-dimensional take of like, yeah, like it seems perfect and they're happy, but it's almost like we as humans bust in and are like, nah, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So
Change things up a bit here. Yeah. If it, I mean, yeah, it's almost the boredom, isn't it? It's the boredom of perfection, and looking for that sort of thing. But she does. I mean, she shoots him down pretty quickly when he comes onto that side of the table. If that's what she's doing and she's entertaining that, she doesn't entertain it long. Because that's a great moment as well, where he's grinning and smiling at her, and I think it's cool the way they do this stuff in these two shots, always with Marge and Norm. They're always shown in these two shots, and then it's this great moment, because I interestingly had a totally different reading on that. I didn't necessarily see that as being entertaining an affair. I saw that as sort of she was trying to reconnect with this old friend, and suddenly found representing the fact that she's got herself into something bigger, and she's suddenly sat down kind of going, oh god, okay, this is very intense, this guy's really intense and everything. And then he comes around and puts his arm around her, oh god, this is really intense. And there's that moment where her and Norm are always shown in these two shots, and he then invades that shot and sits down with her, and she's immediately like, yeah, no, I want you to get out of my husband's shot. Like it's that kind of thing. It's like, this is me and my husband's two shot, not yours. And and then he goes back over the other side of the table. So that's really interesting. That's a totally different reading on on how I saw that.
I think, because for me, I think that it is, even though she may not be aware at first, but it's kind of like the toying with the idea that like, oh, it's innocent, until it isn't. And so like I think it's kind of just put along with everything else. It's about these characters, these American characters faced with everyday life, and then this kind of heightened, or this heightened sense of like, in William H. Macy's story, obviously way high, like very heightened. But in hers, it's more of like an everyday thing. And so like, I think it's about these characters being faced with, okay, like what these decisions of, maybe I'm not happy with life. What if I chose to do something that may change that course? And I think for her, that's her facing with the, like, being married, being pregnant. Is this the life that I actually want?
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, that's like a theme that is throughout this whole story, this whole reason they chose Fargo and chose the North and all the imagery. That's at least my reading. So
I like it very much. I think it's I think it probably is exactly what it was. That just passed me by. I've not seen this as many times, so it's that's really, really interesting. Another thing they do is they employ sort of tropes a lot in this film that kind of, again, that undercut what you'd normally expect. So so kind of following on from that, really, I suppose you have this ideal of normal life, which is undercut by violence and everything we were just talking about.
Which is my favorite part.
All the violence. So good. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, there's that moment where he shoots the father-in-law, and you pan back, and they're on the top of this car park, and there's just windows everywhere. And I looked at my wife and just went, why would you choose that spot? There's people looking all over the place. What a weird, but I suppose it's the 80s, and it's the North, and it's, everyone's at home. No one's in their office block. So that just made me laugh, like on that little on that note, like it's just really funny. But they use these tropes, especially with this kind of the comedy that comes from the two kind of hapless criminal characters. There's something of Home Alone in these two idiots.
Yeah, right.
There's something there that's kind of like, it reminds me of those two completely useless criminals. And you've got the chatty one and the quiet one, and you got the one with the brain and the one with the that thinks he's got a brain, like Pinky in the Brain almost. Do you have Pinky in the Brain? Is that an American thing as well? I don't know if that.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
of
an American
course,
thing,
of
isn't it?
course.
Yeah, of course it
Yeah.
is. That there's a vibe there, but they use it in to such great effect. It's not like, oh, here we are just doing this thing again. They're doing something interesting. They're doing something different with it, and I will never get bored of watching the strong, silent type in anything. Watching a soap and getting moved by something in the soap, it will always be my favorite character trope from a strong, silent type kind of character. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's like, so the way that they know as a director how to, like, where the violence is funny, where the violence is sad and disturbing. They know when to perfectly play each card. And that's what I think is so perfect about this movie, is there's funny violence where it is disturbing, but it's kind of like with that levity of like, why is this kind of feels like it's supposed to be funny. But then like you get the smack of realism where where the first time is like whenever they kidnap her, because like you're like, this idea is stupid, this guy is stupid, he's pathetic, and like you're like, there's no way this plan will work. And of course it doesn't. But like you have that first like realism of where he like kicks in the door, and you have that moment, but then like the running through the house is like shot very much like home footage of like, oh, I shouldn't be experiencing this.
When she bursts out of the bath in the shower curtain, when we were watching that yesterday, my wife looked at me and went, is this supposed to be funny? And I was like, yeah, exactly. It is. It's fine. You're allowed to laugh. Like,
yeah. But like there, so then jumping forward, like I guess kind of in a, like in a similar way, they're kind of, which is interesting. I've never really thought of this until you said that. But the jumping to the ending of William H. Macy's character, whenever it's wrapping up the whole story, you have there's kind of been this funny tone throughout, along with everything else, but you have the like saddest moment, and it's shot almost like a documentary, if I remember correctly. But like where they find him in the motel, they burst in, and it's like handheld. We're walking in with the police and like chasing him down, and they like kick in the door, and he's crawling out the window crying, and like it's his last moment of like, oh, what have I done? And that moment is so sad.
Pants, I think, isn't he? Yeah.
And like
pathetic,
it's such a pathetic, like you feel like you shouldn't be watching this, and that's where like this movie just, it gives you the whole range of that, that most movies don't. And that's why it's like, it sticks out to me so well. It does. It's a critique on American life. It's got all it explores its themes perfectly, and it gives you entertainment, violence, humor so perfectly that like stems from the screenplay, because Oscar-winning screenplay, I believe.
Oscar-winning screenplay, it was indeed, yeah.
So like all of that woven in is just what makes this so perfect, in my opinion.
So you like it then?
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm trying to find the line, but it's, like all of the themes that we've been talking about. There's a line at the end, I believe, where she's like, all this for a little bit of money, right?
Yeah. She does, doesn't she?
Yeah, and then to even just in the movie where the money's just lost, and it's like, so what what did we get out of this? And that's I think the Coen Brothers kind of have that theme throughout a lot of their movies.
100%.
What do we get out of this? Nothing.
Yeah. What was the point? Like,
yeah. And so yeah, I just think that everything's perfectly like there from the script.
It's a very well structured, very well kind of written thing. The dialogue is I mean, we touched on it earlier on, is just achingly normal and, you know, achingly real and yet stylized. It is just a wonderful thing. And speaking of the kind of the buried money in the snow, looking at the legacy of this film, and kind of the way it is utilized later, and looking at Fargo, the TV series, very, very briefly, the DNA of this film is just everywhere in this, and in each of the series, I feel as though you see them do something that they've done in the film. Like, there's something that happens, and the anthology nature of it, you know, these are different stories, but they are set in the same place and similar people and things like that. It's a hell of an adaptation of something, and just so entertaining to watch, and that first series gave us, in my opinion, one of the greatest on-screen baddies of all time, Lorne Malvo, played by Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes.
I
Amazing.
bow before him. It's absolutely extraordinary performance, like, and utterly terrifying. And I think, you know, the first series very much treads that, a lot of the same beats, a lot of the same kind of themes and things like that. You know, it's a very similar beast. But then as you go along, gets further and further away, they do more and more things, and it's quite, but still always ties back to it. And you've seen the first two series, is that right?
Yes, the first two, yeah. And I watched, man, it's been forever. I watched the first series as it was airing week to week, and
wow.
That was fun.
I'll bet.
That's experiences like that are what make me miss the week to week style, sure, and not the binge streaming. Because that was just like, all right, it's Sunday night, we're watching what's gonna happen in Fargo.
Yeah, what's gonna happen to Lester.
Yeah. Oh man, the visual images that, like, or just like the imagery that they use in that first series of, like, the sign, I think, is like in the laundry room where he sees, like, "Are you happy?" or whatever. Something along those lines.
Yeah,
it's so, like, there's just so much of that that's like so much fun, and just the themes, man, just thinking about it, the themes in the movie and the TV show, like, they're just, it's almost like so thematically heavy, that's kind of what really drives the writing.
It really is, and they dovetail perfectly, and you know, and they overlap as well. You know, there is a and I forget which series it happens in, and so I'm gonna be tread lightly here. The ice scraper in the snow. Have you, and the money? I can't remember which series that's referenced in.
That's not the first one?
It's not the first one. I don't think it's the first
Okay.
one. Oh, maybe it is the first one.
I thought
maybe
it was
is the first one. Sam Hess, it might be.
It's been so long.
Yeah, I can't remember. But either way, you know, they pick up on this physical thing, this kind of iconic thing from the film. They bring that into there, and it does kind of make it feel very much like it's a one place, and these people could know each other. You know, it's I love it. I'm going to go back and watch Fargo, the TV series again.
I'm probably going to do that too, because I still need to finish it. Did they finish the show? Like, they kind of ended it?
I think they're planning on doing another series. I think they're doing, okay. Yeah, because the last one was Chris Rock gangstery stuff in the 20s, I think, something like that, which was great. That was such a treat. But it's great. I'm going to go and badger my wife to watch it now. So, I mean, I know what the answer to this question is, Caleb, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you feel as though Fargo, the film, strictly the film, belongs in the snow-covered red ice pick earmarked suitcase, which is now the faults of the script department?
I would put it back at the very back of the vaults on the top shelf. That if there's a fire, it's the last one burned up. I don't know. Maybe that's not how it works, but
I mean, we can look at. I think we've got a room off to the side that's got something in it. I think we've got a rocky room. We've got.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't know. I need to go back and watch these at some point and figure out I need to map it and figure out where all these things are. That'll be a fun Instagram post one day. We'll figure out the script department vaults, or maybe
so many rooms,
so many rooms, too many rooms, and maybe someone will do it for us. All the places where we can find the script department vaults. It's an absolute yes from me as well. That this film is just such a classic. It deserves its place. Currently, for the records, currently number 171 at time of recording on the IMDb top 250. I think should be much higher up.
Much higher. How
up.
high is Dark Knight again?
That one. God, that's like third, I think, at the moment, isn't it? Something like that.
Right? Yeah.
I think.
I love it. Yeah. But
this is a better film for sure, hands down. Yeah. This is why we're here.
No.
We're here to.
Why did you say that?
Sorry. Redacted. Cut. Hard cut. But this is why we're here. We're here to police IMDb's top 250
exactly,
and create our own
and raise hell
and get people mad at us. Still sorry about Elvis, but anyway, that'll do us for today, Caleb. I think we did it. Thank you for joining me today to chat about this real true masterpiece. It was a lot of fun. Next week, if you are still with us, we are going to be rewatching, drumroll please, Braveheart.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
That will be interesting.
That will be. It's on there. It's I forget what number it is at the moment, but it is not far away from this one. I think it's only 10 below Fargo, I think. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see people's opinions on that one. Yeah, I will do my best not to do an appalling Scottish accent throughout the whole. No, I make no promises. But there we are.
Nice.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you for watching us wherever you are. And until next time, Caleb, there, just doing a little coffee insert there. If you want to buy us a coffee, then you can.
Subliminal messaging.
Subliminal messaging. I pointed it out. Damn it. How annoying.
Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks, everybody. Catch you again for another episode very soon. Bye-bye.